Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
When Connor received the phone call, he immediately showed concern. What? She fell? Is it serious? The doctor says that it's serious. Uncle Connor, can you please loan me some money? I want to treat Grandma's illness. How much do you need? Just let me know. I want to borrow 100,000. Ellen took into consideration that she might need more money later, so she decided to ask for more from the beginning. No matter how tiring it would be, she would definitely work hard to pay back this debt. 100,000? That's not a problem. I'll bring the money over to you right away. After a few seconds of hesitation, his conscience prevailed. When she ended the phone call, she heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, she was delighted to have a rich uncle who could help her during the most difficult time of her life. Just as Connor was leaving the house, Olivia caught sight of him and hurriedly asked, "Where are you going?" "Aunt Jessica fell last night and is being hospitalized right now. Ellen lacks the funds for the medical expenses, so I'm bringing some money over to her." Olivia's expression fell instantly, and she immediately probed further. "How much do you plan to give her?" 100,000. What? She asked you for 100,000. No way. The most you can loan her is 20,000. And you must insist that she pays you back, she declared forcefully. How? How can you be so heartless? She is my Aunt Jessica. You have to know that an elderly person like Aunt Jessica will need a lot more money down the road for her medical expenses after suffering from a serious fall. Besides, she won't be saved even if we spent all that money on her. Why waste our money on something so useless? After saying that, she continued, "If you help Ellen on this occasion but Aunt Jessica unfortunately passes, she will definitely approach us for money again." He was forced to compromise with her. "All right, I'll only lend her 50,000 then." It's not easy for a child like her. After saying that, he opened the door to leave. However, Olivia's anger was not assuaged. She stood there scolding him angrily. "Where are you getting that money from? Our money is for retirement. How can you spend that money so carelessly?" "Mom, what are you yelling about?" Selena came downstairs with a huge yawn. "Your father's aunt, Aunt Jessica, fell last night and was hospitalized. Ellen asked us for money early this morning, and your father agreed to loan her 100,000. Of course, I have to say no." "What? Borrow 100,000? When will she be able to pay us back? She only earns a meager salary of 3,000 a month." Selena couldn't help feeling distressed over her family's finances. "That's what I was saying. Even if she did her best to starve herself, it would take more than 3 years for her to pay us back." Olivia snorted disdainfully. Selena felt that it was unlucky to learn about something like this so early in the morning. "Mom, I'm going shopping later. You mentioned that you'd give me 500,000 last time. Can you transfer that amount to my card now?" "Sure. I'll do it in a bit." Olivia's expression immediately became gentle. She would never skimp on her daughter's expenses. That was because she had believed in a certain principle since she was young. A daughter should be raised in luxury to raise her horizons and connections to marry a rich man in the future. In the hospital, Jessica had woken up by the time Connor arrived at the hospital. She could sense that she no longer had much time left to live. Therefore, she encouraged Ellen to remain strong and waited for Connor to arrive. Connor handed the money over and sat down beside her bed. She spoke to him with tears in her eyes. "Connor, I won't be alive for much longer. The one thing that worries me the most is Ellie. When I'm no longer around, please take her in." Seeing that his relative was about to pass away, he naturally felt very distressed. Not to mention, he had always been a kind-hearted man. "All right, Aunt Jessica. I promise you. I will bring Ellie home with me." "Good. Ellie is your sister's only child. As her younger brother, you have to help care for her child," she said. "After all, that was how your sister took care of you when she was still alive." He nodded hard at those words. At this moment, everything his wife exhorted earlier had been forgotten. He felt like he had just woken up from a dream. This child was his sister's daughter, and he could not bring himself to abandon her without a care. Ellie is a good girl. Find a good husband for her when the time comes. Don't let others bully her. Jessica was not afraid of death. The only thing she feared was that Ellen would be all alone in the world with nobody to take care of her. His promise made her feel relieved and reassured. With that, Jessica calmly accepted her fate. When Ellen walked in through the door, her eyes were swollen from crying. She knew that her grandmother would pass away soon, and the pain in her heart was so intense that she nearly passed out from the distress. Jessica had refused any form of treatment because she wanted to leave all her money to Ellen. For that reason, she passed away peacefully during the early hours of that very day. As Jessica's elder sister, Lilac came over with her son to help with the funeral procedures. Connor hung around too. On the other hand, Ellen was too young and could not understand anything. Nevertheless, her tears did not stop flowing down her face. She could not accept the reality before her. "Grandma. Grandma." When Jessica was carried into the hearse, she wept sadly as she kneeled on the ground. Her sorrow was immense. Connor brought Ellen to the crematorium in his car. It didn't take long before the urn containing Jessica's ashes was placed in front of Ellen. She hugged the urn to her chest, and Connor bought a burial plot for Jessica on her behalf. The urn was buried 3 days later. Jessica had asked Connor to bring Ellen home with him, worried that Ellen would be depressed and scared to be all alone at such a young age. After all, there was nobody to take care of Ellen once she was gone. Therefore, Connor brought Ellen home to retrieve her clothes before taking her back to his house. While he was driving on the road, he worried about his wife's opinion regarding this sudden turn of events. He quickly took the opportunity to contact Olivia when he stopped to buy a pack of cigarettes. "What? She's going to stay at our house for a few days?" "No way. Olivia, Aunt Jessica just passed away. Ellie is just a child. She is scared and all alone. I promise that I will do whatever you want next time. Please just let Ellie stay for a few days." When Olivia heard his promise, she grudgingly agreed. "Fine. But only 3 days." Connor stopped for dinner with Ellen along the way. By the time they arrived home, it was already 10 o'clock p.m. Olivia had been waiting by the door and remained courteous to Ellen for Connor's sake. "Hey. You're here, Ellie. Come inside quickly," she greeted them warmly. Ellen's eyes were red and swollen from crying. Nevertheless, she greeted Olivia politely. "Aunt Olivia. All right, it's very late. I've prepared a room for you. Come with me." After saying that, Olivia led Ellen to the housekeeper's room. Connor couldn't help glancing sideways at Olivia when he saw the room. So that's why Olivia sent the housekeeper away. She wanted to vacate the housekeeper's small room for Ellen. It had to be said that their house was a 2-story duplex. Aside from the master bedroom, there were 6 other guest rooms available. However, Olivia was not willing to let Ellen stay in any of the guest rooms. Be that as it may, Ellen was highly grateful for the treatment she received. In fact, she couldn't help feeling uncomfortable and awkward just standing in the bright and luxurious hall in her casual clothes at this moment. "Thank you, Aunt Olivia," she said gratefully. "No need for such reservations. It's late. There's a bathroom inside the room. You should go straight to bed after a shower, Olivia suggested warmly. Okay. Ellen nodded obediently. For her, this small room was already more luxurious than any other room she had ever been to before. As soon as Olivia closed the door, Connor grabbed her by the arm and dragged her into the other smaller living room. Then, he angrily questioned her, "There are so many guest rooms in the house. Why must you let Ellie stay in the housekeeper's room? You're asking me why? Didn't you see how dirty her clothes were? Besides, I never agreed to bring her home in the first place. You're the one who stubbornly insisted on bringing her home." Olivia snapped furiously. She seemed even more upset than him. At this moment, Connor had no intention of arguing with her. He was worried that Ellen would no longer want to live in this house if she overheard their argument. "Where is Lena?" he asked. "Lena is out with her friends. Ask her to come home immediately. How can a girl stay out so late? That's highly improper." He directed all his resentment and frustrations upon the fact that his daughter was staying out late. Her expression immediately darkened at those words. "What did you mean by that, Connor Aguirre? What's wrong with our daughter having fun with her own circle of friends?" However, he could not be bothered to argue with her. The last 2 days had exhausted him. On the other hand, Ellen gingerly sat on the bed inside the small room. She could tell this room belonged to the housekeeper, but she was not bothered by it. Not long afterward, Selena returned home. She was changing her shoes at the doorway when Olivia came and whispered something in her ear. "Ellen has come to live in our home." "What? Ellen?" She wondered whether she had misheard her mother. Although she knew that her great-aunt Jessica had passed away, was Ellen really going to stay at their home from now on? How long will she be staying? Selena expressed her dissatisfaction on her face. "I don't like having strangers in the house. Of course, I won't let her stay here for a long time. I plan to kick her out after 3 days." After saying that, Olivia made a shushing sound. "Don't be so loud. Why don't you return to your room? I've placed her in the housekeeper's room, and your father is unhappy about that." After hearing those words, Selena became even more upset. She was jealous that her father was being so lovely to Ellen. The last 2 days had been extremely exhausting, so Ellen fell asleep as soon as she lay down on the bed. She dreamt of her grandmother that night, causing tears to flow down her face again. The next morning, a knock sounded on Ellen's door. She immediately got out of bed and changed her clothes. When she opened the door, she saw Olivia standing outside. "Good morning, Aunt Olivia." "Ellie, do you know how to make breakfast? Our housekeeper is on leave, so there's nobody in the house to make breakfast for us." "Yes, I can make breakfast. I know how to make spaghetti." "Good. Follow me to the kitchen." Olivia guided Ellen to the kitchen and took out some pasta, vegetables, and eggs so that Ellen could make breakfast for the entire family. By the time Connor and Selena woke up, there was already a large bowl of spaghetti on the table. Moreover, Ellen had prepared several beautiful poached eggs to go with the meal. Olivia looked at the sight and sneered silently. So, it's true that children from poorer families learn to take care of their families from a young age. Although her daughter did not know how to cook or make any kind of breakfast, she firmly believed that her daughter would marry into a family that would not require her to cook. This way, her daughter's hands wouldn't be dry or cracked. She grudgingly praised Ellen in front of her husband. "Connor, look. Ellie woke up early in the morning just to prepare breakfast for us. It looks absolutely delicious." Connor exclaimed in surprise, "Ellie, why did you wake up so early to prepare breakfast?" I woke up early, so I decided to make breakfast." Ellen did not dare to tell him that Olivia had woken her up to cook breakfast. Olivia immediately beckoned Ellen. "Come, Ellie. Let's sit down and have breakfast together." Seeing that Selena had not greeted Ellen, Connor turned toward her and scolded, "Lena, why didn't you greet Ellie?" "Good morning, Ellen," Selena greeted in a perfunctory manner. "Good morning, Selena," Ellen greeted in return. During breakfast, Selena began to tell her mother about her plans for the day. In the morning, she planned to head to the spa for a massage. Then, she was going shopping with her friends in the afternoon, followed by a gathering with her classmates at night. Just listening to her schedule for the day was enough to make anybody envious. Connor listened to his daughter's schedule and suddenly blurted out, "Lena, why don't you bring Ellie with you? You can show her around." Selena froze in the middle of eating her noodles. "Dad, Ellie is not acquainted with my friends. How can she hang out with us?" "That's right. Lena and her friends are students who came back from studying abroad. She won't fit in." Despite expressing her discontent, Olivia did not forget to boast about her daughter's superiority at the same time. Ellen blushed furiously and told Connor, "Uncle Connor, I'll just rest at home today." After pondering for a moment, Connor did not force the matter. "All right then. Have a good rest at home today, and we'll visit the cemetery together tomorrow." He had an appointment with a friend after breakfast. Since he was also going out, only Olivia and Ellen would remain at home. The truth was that Olivia originally had an appointment. It was just that she felt uneasy about leaving Ellen at home alone. What if she lost something important? It had to be said that both she and her daughter's jewelry were very expensive. That was why she decided to stay at home and watch Ellen. "Ellie, I hurt my wrist recently and can't do the laundry. Can you help us with the laundry?" "Okay, Aunt Olivia." "Ellie, the floor looks a little dirty. The mop is in the storeroom. Can you mop the floor, please? Don't forget to mop the staircase while you're at it. It's getting dusty." Ellen was treated like a servant and ordered around by Olivia to do various chores. Olivia also instructed Ellen to cook lunch at noon. After Olivia finished her lunch, she relaxed in front of the television as though she were a queen. As for Ellen, after she finished doing those chores, she was so tired that she fell asleep in the afternoon. It was at this moment that she received a phone call from her colleague. Their boss was laying off some employees since business at the cafe was not doing too well. As she happened to be on leave for the week, he decided to terminate her employment immediately. Ellen's tears welled up in her eyes again in her disappointment, and the tough demeanor she maintained fell apart in an instant. No matter how unfairly life treated her, she could always face it with a smile. Nevertheless, she felt absolutely powerless and weak at this moment. That evening, Connor offered to take Ellen and Olivia out for dinner after he came back from his appointment. They went to an upscale steakhouse near their residence. Having lived in the area for more than 10 years, they had gotten into the habit of eating at such places. Olivia couldn't resist using this opportunity to show off. "Ellie, here. Try this. I'm sure you've never tasted these before." Olivia handed Ellen a plate of desserts. Ellen quickly thanked her aunt. "Thank you, Aunt Olivia. It's nothing. We often eat these, so we've gotten tired of eating them," Olivia added. Connor immediately glanced sideways at her, warning her not to boast to Ellen. After all, it was all thanks to Ellen's brother that they could enjoy their current lifestyle. He could not bear to watch how she enjoyed the blessings that Ellen's brother gave them while expressing disparaging remarks about Ellen. Olivia looked away, upset at being rebuked. As Ellen was a sensitive person by nature, she immediately lowered her head and ate quietly without saying anything else. After dinner, Connor brought Ellen to the nearby shopping mall and bought some clothes for her. Although Ellen kept refusing his goodwill, he stubbornly insisted on buying the clothes for her. His little shopping spree immediately racked up a bill of more than $1,000. Olivia fumed at the sight and thought to herself, in order to prevent Connor from buying clothes for her again, I'm going to give my daughter's old clothes to her tonight. By the time they reached home, it was already 9:30 p.m. Ellen stayed inside the housekeeper's room and did not come out again. On the other hand, Olivia rummaged through the wardrobe on the second floor and packed up all the old clothes that Selena no longer wore. Connor walked into the wardrobe and asked, "What are you doing?" "Packing up Lena's old clothes for Ellen. We can just buy new clothes for her." "Why are you giving her old clothes?" "Lena no longer likes wearing these clothes, but they aren't old. If you sold any of them, these used items would still fetch a price of several hundred," she responded indignantly. Nevertheless, he did not feel comfortable with her actions and asked her to stop. "Stop it. No matter how good the condition of the clothes may be, they are still clothes that Lena has worn. I'm sure Ellie will feel unhappy about getting these old clothes." "Why would she be unhappy? These clothes are better than the rags she's wearing at the moment." "I don't know if it's because her clothes were shedding, but I found a lot of lint on my clothes when I was putting the laundry away today," she immediately complained. He snapped at her in frustration. "That child is so pitiful. Can't you just bear with her for the time being?" "Connor, I'm being serious with you. You'd better not let Ellen stay here for too long. Don't you dare blame me if I accidentally tell her about how her brother donated his heart. I'm a talkative person by nature after all. It's not like you don't know that." "How could you say that?" He couldn't help panicking slightly. She snorted and sneered. "We could just tell her the truth. The money is in our hands anyway. What is there to be afraid of? Do you think a little girl like her can do anything to us? You must never tell anybody about this matter, or we will drown in the criticisms of the public." "Fine, I'll keep my mouth shut. In return, you'd better make the girl leave as soon as possible. Just looking at her makes me uneasy. It feels like she is going to steal everything away from us at any time." After warning her husband, she continued to pack up the clothes. It didn't take long for her to go downstairs with a big bag of clothes in her hand. She carried the bag to Ellen's room and said, "Ellie, I'm sorry for troubling you. These are Selena's old clothes. She's too picky and refuses to wear them again after a few times. These clothes are all in good condition, so I'm giving them to you. I hope you don't mind." Ellen was stunned. She never imagined that her aunt would give her so many clothes. Regardless of the reason, she felt grateful for the kind gesture. "Thank you, Aunt Olivia. These clothes are of great quality." "That's what I think too. Lena loves buying clothes. In fact, she spends so much money without even batting an eyelid. Look at these clothes, each piece costs at least several hundred." Olivia even boasted. "Thank you, Aunt Olivia." Ellen expressed her gratitude once more before Olivia finally left. Ellen certainly did not turn her nose up at the clothes. Now that she had lost her job, she would need to live frugally and save as much money as she could. She had used up all her money to pay for the medical expenses, and Connor was the one who paid for the remainder. All she had on hand was her salary of $450. She had just received it. It was nearly 1 a.m. Ellen was sleeping when she was awoken by the noises coming from outside her room. She got off the bed and cracked open the door to peep outside. "Mom, when is she leaving? I don't even feel like coming home anymore." Selena's voice came from the living room. "Be quiet. Don't let her hear you." "Who cares if she hears me? I'll ask her to leave tomorrow. I've already discussed this matter with your father. We'll never take her in." Ellen's face flushed deep red with humiliation. "It turns out that I'm unwelcomed here." Early in the morning of the third day, Connor and his family headed to the cemetery with Ellen. The funeral was handled by Lilac and her family, so Ellen would only need to attend the funeral as part of the family. Looking down at the urn that was being buried in the ground, Ellen felt her tears flowing down her cheeks. The person she loved the most had left her. Selena had always been a cold-hearted person ever since she was a child. Despite seeing how hard Ellen was weeping, she felt nothing. In fact, she thought that the entire funeral was a complete waste of her time. At this moment, Connor's eyes were reddened. Recalling how his aunt had helped him in the past, he couldn't help feeling sad about her death. On the other hand, Olivia had gone out of her way to dress up for this event. Although she was dressed in black, she was decked in jewelry. Moreover, the jewelry that adorned her was very fancy. Finally, Jessica was buried peacefully. From now onward, Ellen was all alone with nobody to lean on in this world. Lilac walked over and said, "Connor, what are your plans for Ellie? You can't expect her to be on her own. She's just a child." "What child? She's already 22 years old," Olivia immediately retorted. "How dare you try to put the responsibility of taking care of Ellen on us? I won't let you succeed." Unable to persuade Olivia, Lilac could only sigh heavily. Connor replied, "Aunt Lilac, I'll definitely help Ellie." Olivia sneered coldly at those words. "I won't allow him to do that. Not only is Selena uncomfortable with Ellen's presence, but it is so inconvenient to have Ellen in the house. I used to be able to do whatever I wanted in the past, but I have to accommodate her in everything I do now." Ellen heard the conversation from nearby and walked over. "Uncle Connor, I'll move back home tonight. I won't disturb you any longer." "Ellie, why are you moving back so suddenly? We have room for you." Connor couldn't help asking. "I want to keep vigil for Grandma. I'm not scared. Grandma was everything to me," she responded bravely. She did not want to return to her uncle's house and continue being a burden to them. "You're right, Ellie. One must always repay the kindness one has received. Let's heed her wishes and allow her to go home to keep vigil." Olivia immediately agreed. She did not know why she was feeling a sense of guilt and fear at this moment. She also couldn't help feeling as though there was a chilly presence behind her whenever she looked at Jessica's grave. Connor was forced to agree with the arrangement. After the funeral, he sent Ellen back to her home. Looking at the dilapidated village that she was living in, he took out the card that he used last time and said, "There is 15,000 in this card. Take it." "I can't, Uncle Connor. That's your money. I can't take that." "Just take it." "No, Uncle Connor. If Aunt Olivia learns about this, she'll be very upset." Ellen was a sensible child. When Connor drove away from Ellen's house, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and immediately stopped his car by the side of the road. Then, he solemnly answered the phone call. "Hello, President Curtis. Mr. Aguirre, I believe you previously mentioned that your daughter would like to work at Pressgrave Group. I've already made the necessary arrangements. According to her education and experience, we've temporarily placed her in the position of a financial analyst. Are you satisfied with that arrangement?" "Thank you. I'm very satisfied with the arrangement, President Curtis. However, I would like to make another request if possible. I have a niece who is very pretty and has just graduated from university recently. Can I trouble you to arrange a position for her as well?" He swallowed his pride and asked. However, the person on the other end remained friendly as he said, "How about this? I'll get her a job at the reception first. If she's willing to take this job, we'll give her an official contract once the probation period of 3 months is over. Please send me her number and basic details." "Okay, great. Thank you a bunch, Mr. McConaughey," Connor said in relief, thinking that this was suitable compensation for Ellen. His daughter was employed, and Ellen didn't have to worry about job searching anymore. When he got home, Olivia continued to ask him whether he had given any money to Ellen, which was within his expectations. She wouldn't take it even if I wanted to give it to her, he answered helplessly. It's only right that she doesn't take it, as she should understand that every single penny from this family is unrelated to her, Olivia scoffed. Every word she uttered was more demeaning than the last. He stared at his wife and felt as though he was looking at a stranger. What turned her into such a heartless person? Was it money? He wondered. All these years, their relationship was quite stable, but he noticed that his wife had gradually turned into a selfish and indifferent person. She hoarded money like a dragon and no longer had any compassion for others. Annoyed by his stare, she barked, "What are you looking at?" "Nothing." Initially, he wanted to tell her that he had gotten Ellen into the Pressgrave group as well, but he decided against it. Soon, Selina returned home and was over the moon to find out that she got the position of financial analyst. For a fresh graduate, it would be impossible for her to get such a good job. Furthermore, she merely wanted to go there and work to get an extra point for herself so that she could have better chances of meeting men of higher social class. While she sat on the couch, the image of that young man she bumped into at the golf course that day appeared in her mind. For the past few days, she would go there for a walk and take some pictures with her friends, but she didn't run into him again. Despite his disappointment, she looked forward to seeing him again because some people in this world had the charm to steal one's heart at first sight. At night, Ellen fell asleep amidst her tears. She wasn't afraid, but she merely missed Jessica and couldn't accept the fact that she was gone. Early the following day, she woke up in a daze when she heard her cell phone ringing. She blindly reached out to grab her phone and picked up the call. "Hello? Who's this? Am I speaking to Miss Ellen Rice? I'm calling from the Human Resource Department of Pressgrave Group. Can you come to work tomorrow?" "Work? Pressgrave Group? Me?" A clueless Ellen didn't remember submitting her resume to this company before. "Yes, you're hired. Is there a problem?" At the moment, she was in urgent need of a job. She couldn't be bothered to wonder whether this job offer was a mistake as she grasped it tight like a lifeline. No problem at all. I'll be there tomorrow," she stammered with excitement. Even after she had ended the call, she still thought she was dreaming. She had a job now, and it was even a job at Pressgrave Group. Once again, she tried to recall the resumes she had sent and was sure that she hadn't sent one there. Whatever, she thought. I'll just show up there tomorrow and see what happens. Out of the blue, she was struck with overwhelming sorrow. If Jessica was watching her from the other side and knew that she was going to start working in a huge corporation, would she be happy for her? She would need a decent business suit for her job tomorrow. Alas, the clothes Connor bought for her were all casual wear, which was unsuitable for an interview. In addition, an international company such as Pressgrave Group would definitely have a strict dress code. Hence, she opened the other bags that were fully packed. These were the old clothing that Olivia had packed for her, and she had brought all of them back. One by one, she laid them out on the bed to take a good look at them. Finally, she found a business suit with a skirt that looked professional, and she heaved a sigh of relief. Not only did this look good, but it also didn't look worn out. After she checked the label and noticed that it was from a renowned brand, she sighed again. Selina's life is something that I couldn't even have in my dreams. Of course, she wasn't jealous, but merely envious, because she had faith that her life would only improve. The next day, before going to work, she wore some light makeup early in the morning and took the public bus to Pressgrave Group. Meanwhile, at Connor's house, Selina had put on the business suit she had just bought and wore delicate makeup before leaving the house via her father's luxury car. Under the morning sun, the dark blue glass panels of the Pressgrave Group building walls reflected a dazzling light, and after Ellen hopped off the public bus, she scurried over quickly, worried that she would be late. At the same time, Selena had just arrived after parking the car in the parking lot. She held her purse over her shoulder, paced toward the revolving doors, and it was then that she caught sight of a familiar figure. She thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her, so she focused and looked again. I was right, she thought. I did see Ellen. How's this possible? Why is she here? Also, the attire she's wearing looks very familiar as well. That looks like it belonged to me. Mom told me that she gave Ellen all of my old clothes, and it seemed like she was really wearing them. Her red lips turned upward into a contemptuous smirk, and she walked briskly toward the lobby. Ellen stood in the lobby and raised her head in amazement as she stared in awe at the grand and resplendent hall, too stunned by the sight. This was a working environment she had never imagined working in, and it was simply too grand. Right then, Selena walked in and saw her. Although she really didn't want to acknowledge her, curiosity got the better of her, and she approached her, asking, Ellen, what are you doing here? A startled Ellen turned and lit up when she saw Selena. You're here, too. Selena? Are you here to work as well? It's my first day at work today. So, what are you doing here? She's not here to do odd jobs, is she? Selena wondered. Ellen blinked innocently as she answered, I am here to work. What? Selena thought that she had misheard Ellen, yet her hopes were shattered when she saw Ellen's nod. It's my first day at work, too. Selena took a deep breath as she thought, how could she get a job here? What qualifications does she have? These clothes are mine, aren't they? Are you sure you can bring out the elegance of these clothes? She scoffed and flounced off in annoyance. The fact that Ellen was working here made her feel that the compelling character of the place had lowered. Meanwhile, Ellen's face was scarlet for a second and pale the next. Although she knew that Selena was mocking her, she could only sigh and let it go. Then, she went to the Human Resource Department to sign the employment contract. She still couldn't believe she was hired and even immediately had a position at the front desk. When she saw the base salary, her eyes lit up with delight. My God, the base salary is $15,000. She gushed silently, and her hands shook with excitement as she signed the contract. After she read through the contract, she was sent to look for her superior at the front desk to assign work to her. Back in the lobby, Ellen looked at the long and grand front desk. All of the equipment was so advanced. She couldn't help but feel that this entire place looked elegant despite it being just a receptionist's working area. She was assigned next to senior staff because her superior, Carrie Lynch, took extra care of her and didn't give her any pressure at all. In addition, Carrie had also received a note from the higher-ups, so she treated Ellen slightly better than the others. Simultaneously in the finance department, Selena was assigned an office to herself within an extensive department. Although her run-in with Ellen had dampened her mood, she was still pleased with her job. Selena was a person who was good at handling situations and even better at acting coy. So, it wasn't long before she got a male colleague in the office beside hers to teach her devotedly and would always show up to help on matters that stumped her. Ellen clocked off at 6:30 p.m. on her first day of work. Although she messed up sometimes due to her inexperience, she was a quick learner. It also helped that there happened to be another colleague at the front desk who was about to get married soon. So, her colleague guided her to take over the workload. After work, Ellen went home immediately while Selena went out with that male colleague for dinner to learn about the ins and outs of the company. Selena could no longer suppress her curiosity any longer as she asked, Chris, who's the president of Pressgrave Group now? Don't you know that the young master of the Presgrave family has taken over the reins at the company? What does he look like? I've never seen him before. Do you have a picture of him? She asked inquisitively. The next second, a man named Christian took out his phone and scrolled through to find the picture that was circulated in the company's internal group. The man in the photo was seated in the conference room, looking young and dashing with an intelligent glint in his eyes, simply a hunk that was a 10 on the scale. Selina took his phone, glanced at the picture, and almost dropped it. Nevertheless, she hurriedly composed herself as she held it tightly and covered her mouth, staring in disbelief at the man in the photo. Oh, my God! Isn't this the man I bumped into at the golf course last time? So, he's the current boss of Presgrave Group? Her heart beat madly against her chest, and her eyes were filled with ambition as she smiled happily at the picture. So, this is our boss. Will we meet him every day? Her words sent a pang of jealousy through Christian's chest. Truth be told, he was a little interested in Selina because she was a newbie at the company, pretty, and had a good figure. In addition, he could tell from how she looked that she came from a wealthy family because he accidentally glanced at her car key and saw that she was driving a Bentley. Of course, he was interested in her. Regular employees like us don't have a chance to meet him, he said, shaking his head. However, in Selina's heart, she was already fantasizing about how she could get to know her boss. The last thing she was expecting was for the man she thought she would never meet again would appear so suddenly, and she was so excited that she wanted to scream her joy at the rooftops. After dinner, she went home and found Olivia in high spirits over the fact that she had a proper job. How did it go? Are you happy on your first day? Yes, but an annoying person affected my mood, she answered candidly. What annoying person? Olivia asked quizzically. Who else but Ellen? I don't even know how she managed a job at Presgrave Group. What a damper, she whined, utterly annoyed. When Olivia heard that, she immediately caught on to the situation. When she asked Connor to introduce a job to their daughter, he also roped Ellen into the company. This made her incredibly displeased because she didn't think it was a good thing that he was so concerned about Ellen out of the blue. The thing that scared her the most was Ellen finding out one day that they had donated her brother's heart. Not only that, they didn't even share a single penny out of that huge amount with her. If she really lost her mind, she might actually ruin their family. When Selina returned to her room to rest, Olivia called Connor into the room for questioning right after he returned home. Yes, I did get Ellen into the company. What's the problem? Isn't this just a small gesture, he said, annoyed by the interrogations. Olivia sulked. Looks like your pitiful niece is the only one in your eyes now. Huh? Do you want to ruin our family? As he didn't want to bring up this matter, he went into the bedroom and straight to bed. On the other hand, the more Olivia thought about it, the angrier she became. It was a glorious thing that her daughter was working in Presgrave Group, but it irked her that Ellen also had a share in this glory. Later, she knocked on Selina's door to have a chat with her. Mom, do you know? I found out something that made me really happy today. Selina said, recalling that she had yet to tell her mother about this. What is it? Turns out that the dreamboat I met at the golf course the other day is my boss. What? Is he young? How old is he? Olivia asked, her heart skipping with a thud. He's very young. About 25. What's his family name? Of course, it's Presgrave. Selina blinked at her mother and cast her a puzzled look. However, the look on Olivia's face was definitely something. It was evident that she was excited but also nervous as she thought, who would have thought that the boy who had the heart transplant is now the heir of the Presgrave family in a blink of an eye? How time flies. And we've been under the care of the Presgrave family for 16 years now. But I'm just a small employee. How I wish to know him. I should at least let him notice me. Selena whined with a look of disappointment while holding her mother's hands. Suddenly, a brazen idea popped into Olivia's mind, probably her most daring thought ever. That was to find a way to get her daughter acquainted with the young master of the Presgrave family and let her marry him. That way, they would live a life of luxury for the rest of their lives. Have some patience, Lena. Maybe you'll have the chance to get to know him in the future. Let's take our time. How will I have the chance to meet him, Mum? She grumbled, still wearing an expression of self-pity. Olivia gazed at her daughter's beautiful face, which she had spent a lot of money on. Selena had recovered well from the surgery and now had a face that looked naturally beautiful, so she believed that her daughter could marry into a wealthy family with that face. Moreover, the Presgrave family owed them for saving a life, namely their young master. The only reason he was able to live was that they signed the papers back then. They could be considered his savior, and one day, when they meet this young master, they just needed to bring this up to him to be acquainted. Nevertheless, this had to be kept from one person, Ellen. This young master should never find out that the one who donated his heart still had a sister living in this world. Otherwise, he would be grateful to Ellen instead of them, and the more Olivia thought about it, the angrier she felt. So, why did Connor rope Ellen into the Presgrave group? He's just ruining Lena's future. In the meantime, Jared was having dinner in a high-end restaurant with two senior management staff on his side. One of them was Hubert McConaughey, and he mentioned casually, "Mr. Presgrave, do you still remember the relatives of that boy from back then? I just assigned 2 girls from his family to work in our company yesterday." Jared nodded in reply. "Of course, I remember them. I wouldn't be here today if they hadn't signed the papers back then." "That's true. Back then, Mr. Elliot had given his instructions, and I've been in contact with them and paying attention to them all these years because I know that the Presgraves owe a great debt to them." "Thank you, Mr. Hubert. This is nothing. Seeing that you're so healthy now, I think nothing of this little contribution of mine." "What position did you assign them? Did you pass a message to the other staff?" Jared asked. "One at the reception and another in the finance department." "Okay, take care of them." Then, he asked, "Are the documents for the demolition and resettlement approved?" "Yes, it's done. Maybe the official document will be out in a couple of days." Jared nodded. "Okay." Due to national policies, the Presgraves were obligated to help with the city's development because of their status as the leading corporation. Hence, they had contracted a piece of land for demolition and resettlement. In the evening, Ellen had just had dinner outside before she ran into her neighbor, who told her the news in excitement. "Ellie, do you know that our land will be demolished? This day has finally arrived." "When is this happening?" Ellen asked in surprise. "Soon. I heard that the official documents will be out soon." Ellen felt bittersweet. How amazing it would be if Jessica were still alive when this happened. Then, she could enjoy the benefits of the resettlement together with her. "Ellie, you'll get a share of the compensation money at that time. Enjoy your days. Your grandmother will keep a watch over you from the other side." "Okay." Ellen nodded, but it suddenly hit her that Jessica's demise was unexpected. She did not change the title's name and was adopted, so she had no clue whether she could get a share. But now, she already had a job that could pay her bills, and she wasn't that keen to make a windfall on the side. At the same time, Connor received this news even earlier than her because a friend of his in the government department immediately called him. "Connor, that land where your aunt's house is located is about to be demolished." "Really? Are you sure?" The news I received is concrete, but isn't your aunt no longer around? She still has another granddaughter. That's good. She'll be compensated quite well. That land is very pricey now, and not any company could demolish it. I heard it's the Presgrave Group who took up the project. Really? They're just taking this to help the development of the city. That little piece of land can't catch their eyes. You're right. Maybe they're just doing a kind deed. Olivia was standing behind him and overheard his conversation. After he hung up the call, she leaned in and asked, "Is Aunt Jessica's house going to be demolished?" "Yeah, I just received a call saying that it will be demolished, and the papers will be out soon." "Wow. If that place is going to be demolished, your aunt's little 3-story house will receive a huge compensation." Suddenly, Olivia was filled with jealousy and wished that all 3 stories of the house belonged to her. "I don't know yet. Let's see. Then, that money will end up in Ellie's hands, huh?" she asked and added. "Hey, that's not right. Legally, she's not Aunt Jessica's legal descendant. They've always maintained a foster relationship, and Ellie is never under her family registry. I hope this money ends up with Ellie. That way, she won't have to be in such hardship, and we can set our conscience at ease," Connor said. Indifference flashed past her eyes. "Your wish might not come true. In addition, looking at the current situation, Aunt Jessica doesn't have any children living in that house, and her younger generations could get a share of this demolition compensation. I bet you can get it as well. Maybe we can get a small share of it." A stunned Connor jerked his head to look at her and said, "Will you please stop snatching what belongs to Ellie? What do you mean by that? Aren't we doing it together?" Olivia snorted. "You make it sound like it's all my fault. I'm telling you, we will get a share once this demolition fee is passed down." After she said that, she pushed the door open and went out to call Garrett, the eldest son of Jessica's family. She immediately told him about the demolition, which got him very excited. "Olivia, is that true?" "Of course, it's true. All of us will get a share. Maybe your mother will get a larger amount. After she gets her share, it will come to the next generation to divide the money. All 3 of you will get a portion. In the end, Ellen will get 1 portion. That means that demolition compensation can be divided into 6 parts. I'm in need of money now. So, Olivia, let's agree that all of us will get a share when the time comes." That goes without saying. Only when she was done could she finally go to sleep soundly. For some inexplicable reasons, she just couldn't stand to see Ellen doing well. It was as though this child was meant to bring her ill luck since birth. On the other side, Garrett quickly shared this news with his younger brother and sister. Everyone was overjoyed upon hearing that they would get some money. After all, besides Olivia's family being wealthy, the rest of them were struggling in the lower class. How could they let go of a chance where they could get some money? Surely, they would grab this money at the first chance they got. Furthermore, they didn't have any relation to Ellen, plus the fact that she was a young girl. They thought it was fine as long as she could get some money. Ellen went to work in the morning. As the company had given her 4 sets of uniforms, she had donned the uniform to work today, and her entire temperament had changed, appearing fresh and clean. On the streets, even a few people would turn back to take a second look at her. After she arrived early to work, she started to help clear the desk. Sienna, the person showing her around work today, had even specially bought her breakfast. "Thank you, Sienna." "You're welcome." Perhaps it was due to the fact that Sienna was about to get married, as she was practically brimming with a gentle charm. Then, the high-level executives started showing up for work, and Ellen was struck with envy at their tailored and smart suits. I heard that the people working here are paid handsomely, she thought. Not long afterward, she saw a person, Selena, who also saw her. They stared at each other for a split second before Selena walked into the lift. Expressionlessly.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.